finish the course, pass the test, get the certificate, and you're done. However, that belief is where things start to fall apart, because language doesn't work like that. If you stop using it, it fades away. Not immediately, but quietly and gradually. And most people don't even notice it happening. A friend told me he didn't need me anymore after finishing his Dutch course, and he was kind of right, but just not in the way he thought. I ran into him at a Dutch conversation table, and he looked a little bit awkward and told me, "Sorry, Chiara, I finished the course, so I don't really need your help anymore." Because actually he had told me a few months ago, before actually starting his Dutch course, that he was interested in working through my method, but then he didn't end up working with me. So he said, "Now I'm done with the course, so I'm sure that I don't need your help anymore." I knew what he was talking about, but what he didn't realize probably is this, that he hadn't reached the end, and I don't really work only for people who have to learn, and once you know the language, you're done. Actually, I provide something different. So he had just entered, in my opinion, the most fragile phase. So especially because he has no contact with the language on a daily basis, because he's a bureaucrat working in English. When classes are over, you're not a beginner anymore, yes, but in all cases I've seen in my life as a student myself, you're not fluent either, actually, because classes are never enough, because it is a structural problem of the class format in itself. Classes are not the right format to make you fluent. Once you're done with a course, suddenly there is no reason to show up anymore. There is no structure anymore. People who don't use the language in their real life, in their daily life, usually start losing it, because their life slowly disconnects from it, and nothing is keeping them in contact with the language at all. Fluency is actually what you can retrieve automatically, and this happens only after repeated use. So unfortunately, it is not linked to accomplishing a course or understanding grammar. It requires you to come back again and again and again, even when no one is asking you to. We all know very well that any kind of free AI can correct mistakes. That's not the hard part. The hard part is actually showing up, staying engaged, and not disappearing from the language for weeks at a time. This is where actually I come in. I help you keep in contact with the language through voice messages, short written thoughts, and feedback and conversation. Voice messages, what does it mean? It means that you send me a voice note, not perfect, not too many time rehearsed. It's good to rehearse a few times because repetition is actually what builds fluency. But the problem is that's not just write and read, because otherwise we are not linking the brain to our mouth. That is just you talking. Regarding the short written thoughts, what I ask you is to write out a few lines about your day, something you've noticed, something you wanted to say, and correct it through AI. But sending me the picture of your entry on your journal. If you're interested in knowing more about journaling, check out the pinned comment. You will also find a link to a form that you can fill out if you're interested in being kept in the loop regarding a Skool Community for journaling that I'm considering launching. And regarding feedback and conversation, the thing is that in both cases, so for voice messages and for journaling, I actually respond. So I point out patterns, for example. I provide you with exercises, help you use the language from scratch if needed. That happened mostly with my actual one-on-one program on WhatsApp. And these exercises can also be to help improve skills like listening, for example. So we build from what you actually use. That's no rigid structure and no long sections and no rearranging on your life, because this is actually a method that fits your life. This works because you're not studying the language but using it, and instead of occasional effort you get regular effort. Instead of pressure you get continuity. This is what you need to make the language actually yours. And this is actually how I became fluent in Dutch without using it at all on a daily basis, because I live in Brussels, and Brussels is officially a bilingual city where both Dutch and French are official languages, but everybody knows that actually French is more than enough to live here. So actually my life goes on in French without any need for Dutch. But in spite of this unfavorable situation, I still can spend evenings chatting in Dutch with people, and this is not because of courses actually. It's because I stay in contact with the language on my own initiative, through conversations, events, where I probably didn't understand half of what I was hearing. That's actually where fluency builds. If I had a native Dutch-speaking teacher providing exactly the kind of service I provide, I would definitely work with them. because I would have loved to have a frequent contact with the local, but also can provide me, for example, with insights on the local culture as well, on the history, whatever happens. However, the only alternative I see is people offering either traditional classes or 2-hour-long classes in language schools. That's not a deal I'm interested in, and this is also unsustainable in the long run. What I provide is more like a gym membership. So an intensive course is like signing up for a course that has a limited duration. It's like a boot camp, let's say. It can be more or less intensive, but it's exhausting. It's a lot of time expensive, especially if it's a private course. And above all, it ends. What I offer is a membership model. So you get small regular sessions integrated into your daily routine with low friction and high frequency. That's all the point of my method. That's the kind of contact your brain actually needs to build lasting fluency. And the students I work with improve the real way, so they stay consistent. They stop disappearing from the language for weeks at a time. They keep going, and that's amazing. My friend actually finished this course. He thought probably he was done, but his Dutch isn't staying sharp on its own, and somewhere I think he knows it. If you recognize that post-course limbo where you feel that I should be practicing but I don't do it, then you already know that you are not really done. You just need a system that keeps you going. Finishing a course might be the most dangerous moment of your language learning journey, but it must not be the end of it. If you want to get out of the limbo, check out this video where I show you exactly how voice messages help me build and maintain my French. The logic is identical, and it might change how you think about language practice entirely.